My name is Aji, and welcome back to the What's Worth Watching channel, a channel for TV and film lovers who want real, agenda-free views on the latest releases. And in today's video, we're going to be taking a look at Sky Atlantic and Peacock's latest new action thriller, The Day of the Jackal, and why I believe that if you're a fan of anything action or spy related, then this is something that you should be watching. So, The Day of the Jackal is a British series based on a book by Frederick Forsyth. This 1971 classic novel has now spawned two major adaptations to the screen, with the first being the 1973 film of the same name, as well as this latest series, which has adapted the story to a modern setting. The series follows the Jackal, played by Eddie Redmayne, who's an elite assassin and world-class sniper, as he embarks on his most dangerous and high-profile mission to date. It's a cat and mouse tale, with the Jackal being pursued by British intelligence, with an MI6 weapons expert called Bianca, played by Lashana Lynch, doing whatever it takes to capture him before he can successfully carry out his mission. Now, this is my first introduction to The Day of the Jackal, as I've not read the original novel, and I've not watched the film adaptation. This meant that I was able to go into the show with little to no expectations, other than hoping for it to be good. The broadcasters went with a unique approach to releasing the show, with the first 5 episodes of the season being aired on the first night, followed by weekly releases thereafter. I quite liked this approach, as it gives you enough to really get into the show, and then forces you to wait for each episode, increasing your anticipation in the hope of building positive word of mouth around the show. Now, the show opens up with the Jackal completing a job in Berlin, and it throws you right into the action. Straight away, we see what he's capable of, and his modus operandi. Once he's given a target, all he needs is his disguises, his weapons, particularly his sniper, and you're as good as dead. This elusive figure is a world-class sniper, hired by the rich and powerful, who can hit shots that only he can. He takes his work very seriously, and will go to whatever extreme lengths he needs to complete his mission, and keep his reputation intact. As he is the best of the best, it is paramount that he's treated with respect by his employers. He's the last person that you want to double-cross, because if he wants to enact revenge, he will find a way to make it happen. The Jackal is incredibly smart, calm, and calculated. He's the very definition of a psychopath. After completing his mission in the opening, he's tasked with killing a man called UDC, a tech mogul billionaire who's set to release a new software called River that will expose the use of dark money worldwide, which, as he puts it, will begin a new era of financial transparency. Unsurprisingly, this has led to him making a lot of very powerful enemies, who want all of their dodgy dealings kept private, so they can continue to influence world politics in the shadows. Because of this, UDC has a large military-level security team who've been instructed to keep him safe until he officially unveils River. This makes it an incredibly difficult mission for the Jackal, but things are complicated further when British intelligence begins to hunt him due to his assassination of a political figure earlier on. This is a very different role for Eddie Redmayne, but I really like that he took it on, as he is great in the lead role. Honestly though, I've always felt a bit weird when it comes to Eddie Redmayne. People tend to put him in the top echelon of actors, and yeah, sure, he is an Academy Award winner, but I've never been able to fully embrace his acting style. A lot of the time, he comes across a bit off, but for this role as a psychopathic killer, his acting style fits really well. Okay, maybe I sound like a hater right now, but even his voice is just a bit weird to me. And yeah, I know I'm one to talk, but whenever I hear him speak, it feels to me like when you hear someone doing a posh British accent, but you can tell it's not actually how they talk. Honestly, if you told me he's actually from Manchester, I'd probably believe you. Opposing the Jackal, you've got Bianca, a weapons expert at MI6, who acts as a dual lead for the series. And I really enjoyed watching her piece together who the Jackal is. He's such a mysterious figure, and they keep you in the dark, whilst Bianca is also in the dark. So you're rooting for her to find out who he really is. Not even because you want him to be captured, but due to pure curiosity. I've seen a lot of criticism of Lashana Lynch's performance as Bianca, but I don't really agree with that. I thought she did well in the role. Yeah, she's not the most charismatic, but the character isn't meant to be. we don't want her overshadowing Eddie Redmayne, as this is his show. In truth, the cast is a big reason why I bothered to watch it, as there are a lot of excellent actors involved. If you're a fan of British television, you'll recognise a number of faces, like Richard Dormer as Norman Stoke, and Leah Williams, who plays Bianca's boss at MI6. Williams is a natural in these kind of roles, as she's like the Karen of all Karens. I'm sure the actress is a lovely person in real life, but yeah, she's a great fit for that busybody managerial role that you kind of love to hate, and she was also great in Mr. Bates vs the Post Office. And then you've got Charles Dance in another typically villainous role. He's a great actor, but I did kind of roll my eyes when I saw he was playing yet another scheming villain. But I can't deny that he is good in the role. He doesn't get an awful lot to work with, but he chews up every single scene. The guy is so good at playing villains that he can probably do it without even thinking at this point. But if you assumed that all the money was spent on acquiring a top cast, then you'd be wrong, as from the very first episode, you can tell that no expense was spared when it came to producing this show. It's got an incredibly high production value. There's so much international travel in the show, with the characters going all around Europe, and it's always so beautifully shot. At times, it feels like you're watching a mega-budget James Bond film at the cinema. The cinematography, direction, score, and especially the cast, culminate in a product that truly feels prestige. As the series progresses, we begin to learn more and more about the Jackal, and how he became such an elite assassin. As we delve into his backstory, we begin to understand how he's been able to become so desensitized to all the killing. The show gives you little glimpses throughout the series, until finally all is revealed, and it's about as dark as you'd expect. However, as the layers of the Jackal are gradually peeled back, we begin to see how surprisingly similar he is to Bianca, despite her working for the good guys. Both Bianca and the Jackal are trying their best to balance their work with the home life, and it leads to a lot of friction between them and their families. When you're this dedicated to your work, it's always likely to have a negative impact on your loved ones, regardless of whether your line of work is legal or not. Unless you're in that world, you're never going to be able to fully understand it. Bianca is clearly a flawed character. She lies to her husband when she feels like she needs to, and there are times when she does make mistakes. Don't get me wrong, she's never going to win Mum of the Year, but I had no problem with this, as it just showed that she's human. However, the response to the character has been very mixed online, with a lot of people criticising how she was written. One common criticism of her was that she was unlikable and showed a lack of empathy when innocent people were hurt. However, I disagree with this assessment of the character. 1. Because I saw numerous times when she did clearly show that she felt guilt and remorse, but also because she literally works for MI6. What do people actually expect? She's a professional. Yeah, she lies, and she manipulates people when she needs to, but that is just the job. Again, it's another parallel to the Jackal. People in this line of work don't break down and cry when people get hurt. They can't afford to. They have to be able to move on and be as cold as possible, as otherwise they wouldn't be able to do the job. If anything, I actually thought they showed a bit too much humanity for someone working at MI6. None of her colleagues showed any sort of empathy for innocent people hurt, and sadly, that's just standard practice. It's all about completing your mission and looking after your own back. However, I'm not here saying that the show's perfect, as I did have some issues with the writing, but not necessarily in regards to Bianca. As I said earlier, there are times when it feels like you're watching a James Bond film, particularly when it comes to the high-octane action. There are audacious things happening that wouldn't realistically happen in real life. At times, you definitely have to suspend your disbelief, but I was willing to do it, as these moments were always exciting, action-packed, and suspenseful. There were also some inconsistencies when it came to the Jackal, as for the most part, he is super calm, methodical, and is someone who repeatedly claims that he doesn't like risks. But then there are times when you're watching him do unbelievably risky things that he doesn't even need to do. And there are times when you can tell that the original novel was based in the 70s, as in today's world, it would be near impossible for him to get away with a lot of his escapades. Especially when you're in major European cities where there are cameras everywhere and we're always being tracked. But again, it's so fun that I was willing to shut my brain off at times. which is fairly common with the spy genre. Honestly, the most egregious part of the show to me was the notion that there would be a billionaire that cares about the common person and is doing what's best for humanity. Like, okay mate, yeah right, this is definitely a fictional story. Other than a few minor criticisms when it comes to the writing, I was really impressed with The Day of the Jackal, and it was one of my favourite new series of the year. It gets 2 thumbs up from me, as it's definitely worth watching. Writer and showrunner Ronan Bennett deserves a lot of credit for this, as well as Brian Kirk, who was the lead director. They've been able to successfully adapt an older novel to a modern setting, leading to acclaim from the critics, as well as audiences. In fact, the broadcasters were so happy with the show's performance that they greenlit a season 2 midway through the season, so I'm excited to see where they're able to take the series. So, for those of you who have watched The Day of the Jackal, what did you think of it? And will you be tuning in for a season 2? Let me know in the comments down below. Thank you for watching, and if you enjoyed the video, leave a like and subscribe for more, and I'll see you next time for another video. Goodbye.